meeting to order. We actually have some folks over next door in the overflow room. I'm going to ask that if you can find a seat. If there are any vacant seats, if you would just scoot down. I think we have most of the ones that I see already occupied here. So, okay. And I'm going to ask that for the extra folks, for safety purposes and fire code regulations, that we go ahead and direct them at this time to the overflow room. Before we get started, I want to make sure we do that. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. If you have a cell phone, I want to ask that you do like I've done and put it on mute or silent or vibrate so that it will just buzz you when you're getting a call or a text message. Also, I want to ask that we have a large crowd this evening, and the hottest item on our agenda is, of course, the RV park. What I wanted to do was move that particular item to the front of the agenda so you wouldn't have to be here all evening. The gentleman, the applicant for that issue, is running a little bit behind schedule, so I think we'll work our way to that. A lot of what I'm saying right now, and some of you are not able to hear me because you're talking right now, but a lot of what I'm saying will be repeated in the audio version of some of the rules and talking about what's going to happen. But let me just go ahead and tell you, we don't make decisions tonight. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to all of the information, and we will do just that. Everyone who has signed up to speak will have an opportunity to speak. I will say this, if you are collectively in a group, you can appoint a spokesperson, or if every individual wants to speak, every individual can speak, and we will allow that to happen tonight. And again, some of this will be repeated as we go through the evening, but I want to just let you hear from me that we won't be making a decision tonight. This is a hearing so that we can hear from everybody, and then we will make a decision as we move forward. And the executive director, our government affairs director, and clerk for the Board of Commissioners, Ms. Rutledge, will be letting you know what date that the VOC will make a decision from all of these hearings tonight. So I want to make sure I kind of went over that and make sure that we're clear. Now, before we move further, Deputy Director Wheeler, do we have someone out directing other folks to next door in the event that they show up?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, just want to make sure that nobody is left out of the opportunity to be a part of this hearing tonight. With all of that being said, we will move forward with our meeting. I'm officially, Commissioner Washington, calling our meeting to order. At this point, I'd like to have the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
It's been properly motioned. I second that motion. It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The approval of the minutes from July 25th of 2024.
I move to approve the July 25th, 2024 minutes.
I second that motion. It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, at this time we'll hear the rules of procedures for public hearing. And again, a lot of this you've already heard me say already.
Each speaker must sign their name to the appropriate zoning case sheet and fill out a public comment card to register their intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. Each item of business shall be handled in the order that it appears on the agenda, unless upon motion of the board, the order is changed. A member of the county planning staff will present each item to the board and will provide recommendations made by both the planning staff and the Conyers-Rockdale Planning Commission for each item of business. The zoning applicant or the agent will have 10 minutes in which to make his or her presentation. Any portion of their 10 minutes may be reserved for rebuttal following the opposition to the application. After the applicant's presentation, all registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard. They will also be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation and the speakers in favor of the application have been heard, the secretary will then call upon the registered speakers in opposition to the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the public hearing portion is closed, no other speakers will be heard. As a reminder, speakers are to address the board and not the applicant or the audience and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers shall be permitted. After all public comments have been heard, the board may elect to hold general discussion. However, no decisions will be rendered at this hearing. Decisions will be made at the next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. Appeals shall be filed with the clerk of Rockdale County Superior Court within 30 days after the final decision by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, that takes care of the rules, procedures. We'll move. There is no old or unfinished business at this time. We'll jump right into new business. Item A. Deputy Director Wheeler.
Good evening, Chairman, Madam Commissioner. First item on the agenda is case SUP 23-01. The applicant is the Law Office of Mantanaya John. The applicant has a special use permit application before you this evening to allow for the installation of a 200-foot AGL monopole communication tower and related telecommunication facilities. To give a history on this application, this applicant was heard October 19th, 2023, and then as well by the Board of Commissioners 11/14/23. Pursuant to a consent order, the consent order, the application is right before you this evening, and Mr. Meeker can explain the history of cell tower law.
All right, very good. Mr. Meeker.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Washington.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I will try to run through this briefly with you, but when staff first received the application, there was an issue raised as to a lease agreement that was signed by the previous property owner. We used the services of David Strickland, who does the real estate work for the county, to look into the title. We found that the memorandum of lease was recorded in December of 2022. The application was submitted in March of 2023, and the transfer of the property to the current property owners also occurred in March of 2023, so a few months after the lease was recorded. Based on that information, we did proceed, or staff proceeded with the application. Of course, it went to denial. Telecom law, we're not in a courtroom, so I'm going to avoid pretending I'm in a courtroom. But when the act was approved in 1996, it limited what a county or a municipality can do with respect to consideration of cell towers. For example, it's not the county's decision or my decision not to be able to consider health effects of cell towers. Congress put that in the telecom law, that it could not be a factor considered by the local governing bodies. By the same token, the concept of competition among carriers is something that we have to be mindful of, and oftentimes can really factor into this group's decision. If one provider has service in an area but another doesn't, they view that as discrimination among the service providers, and either the county or a city would have to accommodate that second service provider with the approval of a cell tower. Obviously, there is some zoning power that is retained by counties and cities, but that has more to do, based on case law, with the underlying zoning of the property. So if the property as zoned allows a cell tower via, in this instance, a special use permit, then the county's ability, if a proper showing is made by the applicant, is very limited. So we move forward to tonight. I am aware, I think everybody's aware because it was a primary issue when this came before you months ago, that there is an issue between the current property owner and the company that's seeking that. Like I said a few minutes ago, this isn't a courtroom. Tonight you're making a legislative decision just like you do in all zoning matters. You're a legislative body. There is ongoing litigation between the property owner and the applicant. I can tell you this, if through that litigation a court determines that the lease is not valid, then there's not going to be a cell tower. But if the court rules in favor of the applicant in that litigation, then of course they will have the rights they believe they have to come before you tonight. And if it's approved, we'll be able to construct a cell tower. I make no representations as to, I am not involved in that litigation. I have no intention in getting involved in that litigation. That's between two other parties, but it's really a private property dispute. Our job as staff was to make sure a proper application was before you, and that's what we did. That's all I have unless you have questions.
Mr. Meeker?
No, no questions.
Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, I do have a question. So you're saying that as of today, there is no consent from the property owners to have a cell tower on their land?
As far as I know, there is no consent.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
other than whatever legal rights they may have under that lease that was recorded.
But if we say yes, then that would give the cell tower owners more leverage in their arguments because we would have approved the permit.
No, I don't think a judge will rule on the validity of that memorandum of lease independent of whatever this board does, based on my experience.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meeker. All right.
Yes, sir. Just to kind of speed through over again, just to kind of go over
And
that.
I don't want you to go too fast.
No, no, sir. No,
I
just
want you to take your time and breathe a little bit because a lot of folks are out here tonight and they're interested in hearing and understanding what's going on. So take your time.
yes, sir.
Absolutely.
To just to kind of go over the location again. This is an aerial map of the subject property. Again, it's 2400 Southwest Tucker Mill Road. This is the surrounding uses that the applicant has provided. Again, in the red box, it indicates wooded land area and then rural residential subdivisions. Not subdivisions, residential homes surrounding the property. The zoning, again, is agricultural residential. Future land use map, it shows that it's medium density. Again, the special use permit allows for a cell tower to be installed in those areas. This is, again, the project summary. Again, the applicant has indicated that the monopole is going to be constructed to hold 4 co-locations antennas. The cell tower is to provide coverage for T-Mobile. The applicant indicated there is a gap in coverage over there. Also, the applicant has indicated that the tower will be colorized as a dull galvanized gray to reduce the visibility within the sky. As well as the tower will be shielded by existing trees and shrubs to kind of go ahead and block the view. Just as a reminder, staff did recommend approval. The planning commission did recommend denial. And those were 13 conditions of approval. The applicant is not here, but we did have people to sign up in opposition.
Okay. Let's hear from the people.
The first person in opposition is Coretta Sam.
Give it a little bit more volume.
Coretta Sam. Is that it?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I came out today to speak to oppose for you to allow that tower there. And basically for medical reasons, I've read many articles. I'm a registered nurse myself, and I've given chemotherapy over 25 years. that radiation exposure is a health hazard to all the residents in that neighborhood. Individuals have developed brain tumors, cancer of the eye, cancer of the throat, cancer of the kidneys. Would you want something like that in your neighborhood? A lot of people have grandchildren. They want to be able to leave their homes to their children. How can they leave their home to the children with a tower built less than 200 feet from their homes? And what's so surprising, after reading articles today, many states are requiring cell phone towers be placed at least 2,000 to 5,000 feet away from any residential area. Theirs will only be 200. So why is that? So I'm opposing for that reason.
Thank you, Ms. Sims.
Thank you.
Next person is Ms. Russell.
Thank you.
Since I have only good evening, first of all. Since I only have 2 minutes, so hopefully you have fast ears, and English is my second language. I am here to prove to you that there's no lease on the land. Let's go to the first page. The first page, sir, the first page is nothing but an agreement in between the builder and the homeowner. That's all there is to it. The second one I sat in the courthouse for about 8 hours. The second I would like to, excuse me, let's go back. The first one that they put in.
And let me help. I'm gonna help you out a little bit. You don't have to go that fast. I'm gonna take your time. I heard what you said about English being your second language, so you can breathe. Also, take your time. We're gonna hear from the citizens tonight.
This is very serious.
So take your time.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. That way we can hear you. And if you could stay positioned at the mic so everybody can hear your presentation tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
The first page that you have over there, don't worry about the alphabets on it. When you turn the first page, you can see that there are court numbers on the page. This means that somebody put this through the courthouse. Now, when you read it carefully, it will state in here that this piece of paper is pursuant to the lease, meaning they are trying to get something. But the tower management is trying to make us believe that this is actually the lease. It's not. We are totally wrong about that. Since I was determined to find the lease, I found the lease. So let's go with that. Second page. The lease I found under this company, they don't have no court findings on it. None. Secondly, there is no beginning of this lease on this piece of paper. Therefore, you can't use this one for your lease. Thirdly, I have pulled up information if Mr. Musera, who was the old owner of the house, if he ever had a lease, it came back 0. Now let's talk about the current owner. Did she ever have a lease? Let's see. It came back as 0. She never has had any leases on the property. This is the way that the tower companies operate. They make an agreement with the homeowner, then they come in front of you and get the special use permit. After that, they will get the lease agreement. Now, the attorney who was here before, he stated, I have 50-year lease on this property. Let's say that the county will say, no, we don't want that equipment over here. What is she going to do with the lease? Maybe she wants to lease the land for her vacation or something. Who knows? Now, we go back to the court papers. In Rockdale County, there is not one lease recorded under this company, only an agreement. When you go back to the first page, that's what it is. So somebody has made a mistake. It is not a lease. I have here a couple of examples of real leases that we have here in Rockdale. One company is coming, I think, from Delaware. Here is your lease. Stamps, court stamps. These are legit leases. The other one is from AT&T. This is a real lease. What they are trying to present to us, that they have a lease agreement. They don't have no stamps on this. That means that they never dropped it off at our courthouse. So now, what happened with this agreement, or this so-called lease? When you apply lease on the land, you can have a lease on the land. If you do not record it in our courthouse, it doesn't do any good for anybody who is buying the property, because that lease agreement will never be found for the person who is buying the land. Never. That you can do all the title searches that you want. What is this company over here? What they have in our county? It's very upsetting. They don't have anything but a broken down agreement with Mr. Musero, who is the original owner of the house. That's all they have. So now you can do with this information anything do you want. And let's say that after this so-called lease of theirs, that is not a lease, was presented, I have a letter that they actually sent to the homeowner. I got this from the courthouse. And they are still calling it just nothing but an agreement. Agreements will not follow or they don't run with the land. Only leases follow the land. They don't have nothing here in Rockdale County. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Russo. Thank you so much.
Next is Brandy New. Miss Brandy New.
Oh, you're right here? I'm right here. Okay, I'm Brandy New, and I live at 2456 Tucker Mill Road. And I have obviously spoken to you guys before about my concerns and all that. And for fear of obviously duplicating everybody here, my main point is, what does this serve for Rockdale County? You get no funds, you get none of the money, you get nothing. Great, we have better service on our road. Are they going to put cell towers every few miles to make that happen in every county, in every state, everywhere you go? Ultimately, there are 5 towers within 2 miles of that property to begin with. Do we need one right there? Another question would be, this is zoned agricultural, residential. Your law states, Rockdale County law says, that no monopole would be placed in those type of areas unless there's no other option. I'm sure there's another option somewhere. And that being said as well, that the neighbor to the property is a farmer. He makes his living with peppers of some kind that he sells. Is Rockdale County going to pay for his income when he loses it because the tower's been placed there? Better yet, I have a little farm. My kid has animals. When his animals die because of the radio waves and whatnot, are y'all going to come and explain to him what happened when that could have been prevented? Maybe it's not just me. That's part of why we live there, is because it is a quiet community. We all pull together. We all work together. We're the, hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar kind of community. We don't want this. And as much as they want to say the trees are going to hide it, you tell me how you're going to go build this without tearing a road the size of this building to get it done in the first place. It's not going to be some little menial type location that we're never going to see. You're going to see it every time. Not to mention all the things that occurred when they presented last year, T-Mobile and the lawyer that was here then, the falsified photos, how they did everything backwards. They did not follow any steps that Rockdale County requires. They did a balloon test in the middle of the morning on a Monday with no notice to anybody in the community. There was nobody that can see it, and then they presented photos that were falsified. They showed the front of my house. They did not show where I'm going to walk out my door, turn right, and see the tower. There's a lot of stuff going on that seems to be falling through the gaps for some reason, and I don't know why. And I will tell you that as far as health concerns go, my mother lives with me right now. I have a 13-year-old son. I have no desire to add to either one of their lives by something that could be prevented, not to mention a school less than a mile away. And there's also now a mental health, I guess, institute, hospital, rehab place less than a mile away with people with dementia and Alzheimer's and whatever else they maybe have, less than a mile away. Or do you want to endanger those community members as well? So just food for thought. I mean, I obviously have a lot more, but I want some other people to be able to speak as well. There are huge concerns, and it's not right. Somebody somewhere is doing something wrong, and it needs to be stopped, especially for the homeowner that is now being sued for something that other people in the community actually did, including myself. So just something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. News. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, we only have 29 seconds left. Would you like to add more time
You
for?
have 29 seconds.
We have-
The next speaker, 29 seconds.
We have 5 more
Call up the next
speakers.
speaker. Call up the next speaker.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Laura Carter.
So, Mr. Chairman, did you want to amend the time for each side?
I am.
Okay.
We absolutely gonna amend the time.
So
We're
we
gonna
can
give-
add 10 minutes to the timer.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. And take your time. You don't have to talk 29 seconds fast. Okay. Take your time and breathe and say what you want to say.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. My name is Laura Carter. I live on the adjoining property of where the proposed cell towers are going to be potentially built, hopefully not. I'm opposed to it being approved. The reasons being a decreased value in my home. Also, the radiation and health concern. I have a newborn child and an elderly mother, and just also the eyesore that it would be to my property as well.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you. I
much.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
for coming out tonight. All right, call up the next speaker,
That
please.
was quick. Pete New.
Come on up, Mr. New.
How are you this evening?
Good, doing good. Yes, sir.
My wife spoke just a minute ago.
She
I
did a
live
great
at
job.
2456 Tucker Mill Road as well. And, my question is, to start with, we've already been through this one time. This has been on the plate one time before, and it was voted down. So why are we here really trying to go through this again? It doesn't make any sense. This has been put to rest once, and these people want to bring it back up. I mean, this is an out-of-state law firm from Florida who want to come up here and put a cell phone tower on a person's property that they are harassing to death for no reason, to benefit what? I mean, I'm asking Rockdale County, Oprah Winfrey come on public one time and said Rockdale County was the place to be. I'm beginning to wonder if she was right or not, because this is supposed to be about the community and the people who actually live in this county, not people who come from out of state wanting to bring things here that don't need to be here. I mean, when I walk out my back door after a rainstorm, I see a nice rainbow coming over. I don't want to watch a 200-foot tower sit in the middle of it and mess my view up. At the end of the day, I don't want it, and the people who live around me don't want it. I mean, it doesn't need to be there. It's not going to benefit enough. I actually have T-Mobile service. My phone works in my house. I don't need any excess bootage to make it work any better. And if it didn't work good, I'd buy me a booster and put it in the house. People can do that without having a 200-foot tower. At the end of the day, too, I mean, what is Rockdale County going to gain out of this as far as monetary value? I mean, are they going to get anything from it? Who's going to catch backdoor money at the end of the day? There's a whole lot of things to look at here, and the community should be the one that is looked at first. For an out-of-state company or out-of-state law firm to come here and want to put something here that can be detrimental to people. I mean, my father lives in Stone Mountain. He has throat cancer he suffers from, and he's got a cell phone tower less than a quarter mile above him. And I'm just about betting for the radiation and the waves and stuff that comes off that. And my mother is actually a cancer survivor. She walks around with one lung and is forced to work in a lunchroom at Gwinnett County Schools to make ends meet because my dad is retired and he ain't healthy. So, and I truly wholeheartedly believe that a lot of that stuff has to do with the health that my parents have now. And my dad has lived there his whole life. That house was built in 1939. He lives in the house he was born in. And I want to be in this county and live in my house for a long time. I don't want to have to worry about things that are going to happen to me because of something that we don't want in the first place. These people want to come up here and spend this kind of money to put this up at the expense of the people who actually live here. and who breathe here and who stay here, who pay taxes here in this county. And as far as I'm concerned, they put that there. I mean, that's a potential to make my property value go down. And in my opinion, if my property value goes down, that means my property taxes ought to go down. I mean, it's not supposed to cost me out the yin yang to have something that sticks out like a sore thumb in the sky for somebody out of state to come up here and put money down and make something pass through that we don't want. That's about all I got to say. I appreciate it very much.
You did good. Thank you, Mr. New.
Yolanda Portis.
I have came and spoke before against this cell phone tower. I'm against this cell phone tower. My mother was diagnosed with cancer a year ago. Thank the Lord she hasn't had to go through any chemo or radiation yet. But how do I know that putting this cell phone tower there won't be the start of it? There's a school the next street over, not even a mile away. I read where it says that this stuff has caused brain cancer in children. Do you want your grandchild to end up with cancer? None of us want none of our family members with this. This family is being almost kicked out of their home for a lease that was done before they even moved in. That's not right. That's not right. I moved to Rockdale County because it reminded me of my parents' home in Mississippi. Acre lot just like my parents. This is where I plan to stay, Rockdale County. We do not want this tower here. We have elderly on our streets. Mr. Pete mows the neighbor's yard for free because they can't get up and do it. He has mowed my yard. We love our community. We work together. So like he said, why bring something in from out of state to mess up what we got going on here in state?
Thank you so much.
Varon Weldon.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
My name is Varon Weldon, and I live in the Grayfield subdivision, right across the street from where they're trying to build this tower. I and several of my neighbors, some who couldn't attend tonight and some over in the overflow room, oppose this tower. I have concerns and comments that I'd like to share with you all. My mother is 87 years old, and thank God she can still get up and get around. And my granddaughter is 4 years old, and they come to my house to spend the weekend practically every Friday. My driveway is on the side of my house that faces where they want to build this cell tower. My mother often walks up and down the driveway to get a little exercise in. My granddaughter is out there constantly drawing with chalk and just having fun. Again, facing that area where the cell tower is. I did a lot of research, and in all fairness, I found some studies that say that there are no issues with cell towers. But at the same time, I found several, if not more, studies that say there are harmful effects from having a cell tower. In fact, some studies have found that living close to a cell tower can pose threats to humans' health. For an example, one study found that neighbors living within 400 meters of cell towers were diagnosed with cancer at a rate that was 3 times higher than those who live further away. Other studies have found that exposure to high levels of RF, which is radio frequency waves can be harmful because the waves can heat up the body tissue. And not only that, these waves can also affect several types of medical devices, such as pacemakers and insulin pumps. And lastly, I stumbled across some information on the Rockdale County website. And this little information is entitled Rockdale County Telecommunications Ordinance. And the finding and purpose and intent, it states, Rockdale County finds that the number, the height, the design, the characteristics, and locations of telecommunication towers and antennas in counties directly affect public health, safety, and general welfare. It goes on to say, the county further finds such structures, when inappropriately located, have potential to pose a danger to surrounding property owners and the general public, and substantially detract from the beauty and appearance of the county. It goes on to say the purpose and intent of the governing authority of Rockdale County in enacting this article are as follows. Avoid locating telecommunication facilities in residential areas whenever possible. Encourage the location of towers in appropriate non-residential areas. And lastly, encourage placement of telecommunication facilities in areas where the adverse impact on the community is minimal. And as you can see, or as you have heard from several people in that community, it has a strong impact. We all oppose it. So again, just want you to know that I think there are some health issues that directly comes from these cell towers. And I don't want anybody in my family or friends to be affected by it when they come to visit me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
And this is our final person that signed up. It's Loretta McIntosh.
Ms. McIntosh?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to be very brief. These are my neighbors, and I live on Tucker Mill also, and everything they said I agree with, and I'm going to end it on this note, that sign above your head, "In God We Trust." I'm a Christian woman, and I'm going to give a scripture that says, okay, I believe in the Word of God, and God told us to occupy until He comes. And the land that He gave us, our feet that tread on this land, He's going to give it to us and bless us. And Tucker Mill Road is our land. And that's the land He gave us, and that's the land that He's going to bless us with. So we oppose this, and we just pray that you all will do the right thing. And you work for us. We are the residents of Conyers. And like I say, my grandkids come here every summer from Jacksonville. And they outside, they're playing. You know, the Lord blessed us with land. So, and like I said, it's a health hazard. So just send these people a message. You know, they may have to take a loss with greed. It's all about money. And God said the love of money is the root of all evil. So, I mean, they just might have to take a loss, but this is our community, and we're going to fight for it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Washington, any comments from you?
I do have a question to this Exhibit 4, the memorandum of lease. Where is she going?
She had another
Oh, you got it.
Okay, I just wanted to know where she got it.
She said everything was at the courthouse. She said she was at the courthouse. She spent 2 days there.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
So,
Anything else on this item?
well, let me say this, and I certainly appreciate all of the speakers that took the time to come out tonight. I think if you all have followed this the way we follow this, you're right, it has already been through this process. What we are obligated to do, we have to go through the process and hear it again. You know, a lot of times we don't want to hear this stuff all over again. We've already made a decision. We've made a decision. However, we're obligated by law and by our oath to hear it come through the process again. So let it go through the process. I think everybody that spoke tonight did a great job. I think you articulated your message very well. But guess what? As I stated in the beginning, we're not making a decision tonight. But guess what? We heard you loud and clear. And I'll remind you, we've been through this before. So thank you for coming out. For those that came out regarding the cell phone tower, we certainly appreciate you, and we heard you loud and clear. Thank you so much.
I'll pause for transition.
Yes, thank you. We're taking a pause break for the transition, so if there's anyone that particularly was here just for the cell phone tower and you want to exit, this will be a good time to do it. And then in just a moment, we'll resume back to our regular agenda so we can keep moving with the rest of the night. So we'll give just a few moments for folks that want to exit and go watch their favorite television show or make it to their favorite restaurant. Give them a chance to do that. Absolutely. Well, you please do. Have a good evening. Thank you. All right, let's move forward with the next item.
Yes, sir. The second item is actually 3 applications. The first application is the FLU 2024-02. Next one is rezoning 2024-07 and SUP 2024-02. The applicant is SDP Acquisition LLC, represented by Battle Law. The applicant is seeking to develop a data center on the subject property. To kind of read it off, the properties, so there's actually 10 properties, and I'll read off the addresses for you. It is 1975, 1985 Sigmund Road, 1980, 1786, 1670, 1726, 1716 Northwest Leicester Road, and 1634, 1632, and 1630 Northwest Farmer Road, for a total of 52.7 acres. To go over the applications, the flume application is to amend the future land use from high density to technology park. Rezoning application is to rezone the 52.78 acres from R1 to O&I, office institutional, and the special use permit is to authorize the construction of an electrical substation. This is an aerial map of the subject property. As I indicated, there are 10 individual parcels that combine together for the total acreage. This is a zoning map of the subject property. Again, it is zone R1. As you can see, there abutting, light industrial zoning and office institutional, as well as a few residential zone properties. The future land use map shows the property as being high density, but it is surrounded by industrial zone property, as well as office institutional and medium density. This is the project summary. The applicant has indicated that there were 3 buildings totaling of 837,500 square feet. The applicant has indicated that there will be limited vehicle access, vehicle traffic, I should say, onto the site. The primary access points to the subject property will be along Leicester and Farmer Road. There is an emergency access along Sigmund Road, which is on the southern portion of the property. As well as the applicant has indicated that there will be a 4-acre substation pad, as you indicated, to the northwest corner. There will be a transitional buffer requirement along any R1 zone properties. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this application with 12 conditions, and the applicant is here for presentation.
Okay. All right. Let's hear from the applicant.
Good evening, Michelle Battle with Battle Law, 3562 Habersham at Northlake, Tucker, Georgia, 30084. I am here representing Strategic Partners. We do have John Young here with me this evening as well, if there are any questions that I cannot answer. There we go, okay. Chris has already pointed, Mr. Wheeler has already pointed out that the future land use map shows the property as having a land use designation of high density residential. We believe that that is kind of out of place based on all the surrounding uses. This is clearly more of an industrial area, and having even the possibility of putting a multifamily project on this property seems to be the wrong place for that type of a use. A couple of, I guess earlier this year, towards the end of last year, we did the rezoning and the land use change to allow for the data center for DC Block, which is directly across the street from the proposed site. And we look at this as an excellent opportunity for a data park with these two data centers located there. When we came before you all previously, we sought for the DC Block property to have that land use amended to Technology Park, and so what we are asking for is consistent with that previous request that was approved. The property, again, is zoned R1 for residential use. Again, we don't believe that that is a suitable use in light of the surrounding zonings and existing uses, which are more industrial or commercial in nature. We are also adjacent to properties zoned both light industrial and heavy industrial. Strategic Partners is planning to construct a multi-building data center on the property. The specific location is indicated as the 52.86 acres that you have been shown. Chris has done a great job. Mr. Wheeler has done a great job of outlining the overall project and where we are proposing this use. Again, we have frontage on Lester Road as well as Farmer Road and a bit on Sigmund Road. Our entrances and exits are off of Lester. We do have exit off of Farmer and then a third exit off of Sigmund Road for the third building towards the rear. There is a stream or creek in the middle of the property. We are abiding by the buffers around that property, around that lake, sorry. And then with regards to the substation, it is up in the northwestern corner of the site. We have had no issues with the adjacent property owner with regards to that location. There will be the 75-foot buffer protecting that site as well. In terms of the buildings themselves, we'll get to that in a second, but we did want to talk about the entrance into the data park. We are actually proposing on the area which is at the corner, and I can't show it exactly, but at the corner of Lester and Farmer Road, where there's a green space on the site plan, what we are proposing is to really have a real presence and entrance into the data park. And we would certainly hope that the DC Block property would do something similar in nature so that there's some cohesiveness to coming into this area, giving it kind of its due with the paver plaza that we are proposing, along with the monument signage and the additional plantings, so that when you come into the data center park, you really get a sense that you've come into an area that is oriented towards technology. Additionally, we want it to be a place where kids will be able to come to learn more about STEM research and things of that nature. And I know that DC Block has made a commitment to that, and Strategic Partners is doing the same to make sure that the kids that are in this community and within Rockdale County will have the opportunity to come into these spaces and learn more about what is happening with these data centers and the amount of technology that relies so heavily on it. This is the proposed facade of the building. It is made up of glass as well as a painted precast concrete. We have asked for a modification to one of the conditions to make it clear that would be the product and facade materials used on the site. It's very important from the perspective of the maintenance of the temperatures within the interior of the building and helping with the cooling of the overall site. Data centers do produce a limited amount of pollution. However, we are looking to minimize that with regards to the site. We did attend one of the recent meetings that was held by the Rockdale County, I think it's
Soil and Water
Conservation Group, thank you. And we did discuss the water usage on the site. We will be utilizing a cooling system, which will either be a closed loop or evaporative system, both of which were discussed at that meeting, and we believe will cut down on the amount of water usage, as once it is within the system, it will be a looping system within. That just gives a little bit more information about closed loop systems versus evaporative systems. Again, we believe that both of these are environmentally friendly. And then with regards to the conditions, the only condition we were asking for a modification to was that number 3 said no elevations or architectural renderings were provided. We have in fact provided those now. The buildings on that condition should be of brick, stacked stone, and or glass finish on all sides, with the final building elevations being submitted for review to the Director of Planning. We've asked for a revision to that condition. The building shall be made of a painted precast concrete, glass, and metal panels, and in accordance with the building elevations submitted to the Planning and Development Department, and that they would still, however, have final approval. So with that, we're here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Commissioner Washington, any questions?
Noise, that was something that I think that at the Planning Commission meeting, that there was a question about the amount of noise.
We don't anticipate a lot of noise coming from the site. I mean, the data center will be all self-contained with all of the computers and other apparatus inside of the building. We know that I think the county has a noise ordinance. We would not be in any way exceeding that noise ordinance. And we're not that close to the residential subdivisions that are near the property, or in the area, should I say.
There was, you've indicated that the company is willing to work with the school system on technology and STEM programs. Is that correct?
I think the same thing that was discussed previously is that there's really an opportunity here for the schools to be able to work cooperatively with the businesses that will be located. There will be tenants, unlike the DC Block project. Strategic Partners is really the developer of the building, but they have communicated with those who they are in discussions with that the county really wants, to the extent that the presence of the data centers are here, to have a cooperative spirit, work with economic development, work with the school systems, and they are willing to help champion that with the tenants that will be coming on site.
And could you tell the total investment dollar amount? It was 1 point.
The construction value itself will be about,
Come up, say your name.
Could you introduce yourself,
sure.
please?
I'm John Young with Strategic Real Estate Partners, 3715 Northside Parkway, Atlanta. The construction value of the facility will be around $1.3 billion. And then the equipment inside of the building will be a significant investment that will be a very high dollar amount depending on the user that we end up entering into agreement with. That exact number will fluctuate. We've discussed with economic development about the broad spectrum of the project, but are kind of hoping to get through this hurdle so we can formalize some agreements and really sit down to further discuss how can we formalize being part of the community, what does that equipment cost, what does that look like from a tax revenue standpoint, and see this as an important hurdle to getting to those more detailed conversations before we kind of bring our group to the table with us.
And your anticipated usage of electricity in the $5 million range a month, as is DC Blocks?
It is of that or greater. We're working with Georgia Power right now on the power agreement that will be a blend of upfront costs to make sure that the utility is not paying for anything. We would pay for those improvements to make sure that the utility is not at risk if something were not to materialize with the project. We've been working with Georgia Power for about a year now on this site, and they have given us a commitment for 216 megawatts of power to be scaled up over about a 5-year period. And so we're at the hurdle now where we're kind of coming up against a deadline where, after the vote for this project, we would move into ordering equipment and actually placing the formal order with Georgia Power.
One more question.
Sure.
The dollar amount of the equipment, because that's tax revenue also. Do you know the anticipated dollar amount?
I think it's going to be equal to the construction improvements, potentially more, depending on the exact spec of the servers, but it will be significant.
So that's about
Hundreds
another
of millions
1.2 billion?
I would say not less than hundreds of millions up to $1 billion.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We did not have anybody to sign up for support or in opposition of this petitions.
Okay, let's keep it moving. We got a lot on this agenda tonight. If nobody's in opposition, we'll go to the next item, please.
Our next item is there we go. Our next item is a combination of a flu and a rezoning for property located on 4105 East Fairview Road. It's a 1.4 acre lot, and the applicant and owner is Miss Anita Honeycutt. She's requesting to have the future land use map amended from neighborhood commercial to low density residential for agricultural use, and to be rezoned from C1 local commercial to AR agricultural residential, again for agricultural use. The aerial map shows where the property is located, and our zoning map shows that this lot is a part of a 4-parcel in a local commercial hub. The map also shows the surrounding properties are all single-family residential. Our future land use map shows that the property is neighborhood commercial, and even with that, all the surrounding properties are local density residential agricultural. This is a map from RWR. It shows that even though there is water in that little hub, there is no sewer. So with all this information we've received from all the reviewers, both internally and externally, we have concluded that the request to rezone to AR will not adversely impact the county's infrastructures. One main thing to note, though, is that, as I said, even though there's water, there's no sewer, and if they were to build commercial businesses or developments, it would require that they have sewer. So with that in mind, the request to rezone to agricultural residential would be an appropriate use for this location. So to summarize this case, the applicant is requesting a future land use map amendment and a rezoning change for her 1.49 acre property, which is undeveloped at this time. However, the owner does not intend to sell the property, but would like to pay residential taxes instead of having to pay for commercial taxes because of its current zoning designation. So to reiterate, the property is surrounded by residential uses and would be consistent with the adjacent neighborhoods. So based on all that information and all we've gathered, staff had recommended approval without any conditions to both requests, and the Planning Commission voted to approve staff's recommendation as well. I'm I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman. Oh, Ms. Honeycutt. Yeah, she is here. And so we have the applicant, and she's available to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Come on up, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
This property was zoned in 2005 by the county.
You got a nice, sweet voice. You're leaning into that microphone so they can hear you, too.
Okay, this was zoned in 2005 by the county. It's been commercial property, and it's been in my family for over 100 years. It's 1.49 acres, and in 2005, they rezoned it. In 2011, my father could no longer pay the taxes because his income did not. He then transferred it to me. Since 2011, I've paid over $13,000 in taxes on 1.9 acres. This year, they wanted to increase it to $2,400 a year. At this point, there is no return on the investment. Even if it were commercial, it's pretty much being eat up by taxes. I don't want to lose the property, but at this point, it's really diminished in value. My desire would be to get it rezoned as agriculture. My 88-year-old mother is here. She has 28 acres. We'd like to add that 1.9 back to her property and get it back under agriculture so it could actually afford the property.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. What a good job you did, too. Hello, Mom.
We have no one that signed up for or against.
Okay, let's keep it moving. If we don't, we'll keep it moving. Rock and roll. Next item. We got a lot on this agenda tonight.
So our next item on the agenda, let me get there, is case number REZ 2024-12. The site address is 2037 Southeast Old Salem Road, and the applicant is Edwina Shriek. The applicant is requesting to rezone a 1.9 acre property from AR, agricultural residential, to R1, single family residential, for development of 3 single family homes. The aerial map shows where the property is located, and it's on Salem Road and Lambeth Way, southeast. The zoning map also shows that the property is in an agricultural residential district and is surrounded by single-family residential and agricultural residential as well. The flume is medium-density residential. The applicant is requesting this rezoning because she would like to split the 1.9 acre property to 3 tracts to build 3 residential homes. 2 of the proposed lot sizes are 0.61 acre, and the other is 0.68 acres, which will be just a little bit smaller than the R1 zoning requirement, which is 0.69 acre. All 3 lot sizes, however, are consistent with the lot sizes in Lambeth Estate, which is adjacent to that property, which have lot sizes ranging from 0.51 to 0.72 acres. Staff recommended approval with 5 conditions, and the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval with staff recommended conditions. Mr. Chairman, I could read the conditions in, if not tonight.
Do you have anybody in opposition?
We have no one in opposition.
We don't waste time with those conditions tonight. They get ready. You in opposition? Did you sign up? Did you sign up?
No one.
Come on up. Come on up. Let her come on up. Come on up. Come on up, ma'am. You come on up. Absolutely. Let her out of there. How you doing tonight? All right, pull that mic down so they can hear you.
Don't remind me how short I am.
That's all right.
I'm Doris Barnes, and
Ms.
my
Barnes,
property.
thank you for coming out tonight. Talk to us.
You're welcome. My property is next door, and I have 1.25 acres. So that is not accurate what was being said about the lot sizes. We had a lot of trouble with this land for years. It was a drug house. It's not part of Lambeth Estates. It was on the corner. If she puts 3 houses there so close together, and when you turn into the subdivision, there is a culvert there that's going to cave in, and it won't support that. Plus, when you have to turn in there really fast, as most people do, somebody's going to get run over or killed one day, as the residents do fly up and down that road. But it's just, it would not improve the community at all. And she hasn't even given us the approximately no photos of what kind of houses she's going to build. So the houses in there are around $350 up to $4,000 or more. I don't know what she's going to build. So I just think it's going to be detrimental to the community in more ways than one.
Okay, so I have don't go nowhere yet. I don't let you come up here. I got a question for you. I think Commissioner has one for you too.
Sure.
My question, have you talked to her?
Oh, yes.
You have talked to her?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right, Commissioner.
Well, mine wasn't necessarily for you, but thank you. But I do have for
Okay,
staff.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Come on up, Deputy Director Wheeler.
Yes, ma'am.
I am very interested in what types of houses. Has she given us any specs on the houses?
I believe it should be in our packet. I believe there was a example at the last meeting. There should be in the packet of the type of houses that the applicant is intending on building.
Okay, and my other questions were at the Plan Commission meeting. There was questions raised about the appearance and the lack of decorum that house was keeping. Is there any way that we can put some kind of restrictions that she has to abide by the whatever the rules of the homeowners association from Lambeth Estates, because those concerned me about the house. They didn't say it was a drug house, but they talked about the way it was run down, the yard was unkept, and all kinds of different things. And I would hate to go from one house to 3 houses being kept like that.
Yes, ma'am. So the conditions that would be associated with a HOA, that's a private agreement that the applicant and the HOA would get into. However, we do have our property maintenance code that we is strictly enforced with code enforcement. So unkept, grass, boredom things, those will fall underneath our purview, which we would strictly make sure those are all taken care of. For anything related to specific of the HOA, as far as the aesthetic looks and so forth, that would be between the developer and the HOA. If they want the 3 lots to come into the HOA agreement.
Well, my problem is that we didn't do it for the first house, and they're putting 3 more houses, and they had problems with chickens and all kinds of things on that property. So I'm very, very concerned about putting 3 houses on a piece of property that people are complaining about the way they kept one.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, factually, I can't really respond to as far as the complaints, as I would need code enforcement to look into that. And if there are valid, of course, we would strictly make sure those are followed. Is regarding any conditions, you can put any conditions onto the property if you want to that you would think would support that position.
Thank you.
Well, listen, Commissioner Washington brought up some very valid questions about this property, and I want to instruct you to go forward with having code enforcement to take a deeper dive and take a look at this. The other concern that really stuck in my head, I heard from the young lady that just came up, she talked about some drug activity out there. If you haven't already, contact the sheriff's office. Contact the sheriff. Okay. They took care of it.
Well, the house burned down.
I can't. See it?
The house burned down, so it's no longer there.
Oh, so it took care of itself. Oh, okay. All right, well. I got it. God has a way of working everything out.
So this is the picture of what they provided that's in your packet.
Okay. Very good. All right. Any,
Could you make sure that, I'm sorry, what was your name, ma'am? Could you make sure that Ms. Barnes sees the pictures, please? Thank you.
okay.
Since we did have somebody to speak in opposition, it's customary to allow the applicant to come back and speak in the opposite
Absolutely.
rebuttal.
Absolutely.
Did you want to speak in rebuttal, or did you want to go ahead and forfeit your time? Ms. Schwick, did you want to do a rebuttal?
No, that's not her. That's not her. That's not her.
Yeah. Did you want to do a rebuttal to in the comment?
That was the person before.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Chris,
I'm doing my mind.
Slow down. Slow down. It's okay. Slow down. Stay with me. Stay with me.
Bro, I
Just
apologize.
slow down.
I'm
Slow
sorry.
down. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. But that's not her. So, do we have anybody?
I realize she's not even here. Sorry.
Let's go on to the next item. Thank you. It's all right. It's been a long day. He's been here since 7 o'clock. It's all right.
Charge it to my head, not the heart.
Don't even worry. Don't talk about it no more. Let's go.
Next item on the agenda is RZ case 2024-14. The applicant is Faith Deliveries. The applicant is seeking to rezone the subject property at 2332 Southwest Old Covington Highway from R1 to M1 Limited Industrial for the proposed use of a trucking business. This is an aerial of the subject property, showing the property has frontage along Old Covington Highway. Again, this is an aerial map showing the current zoning of the subject property. Again, the property is zone R1. It is surrounded by commercial, limited light industrial, as a few residential zone properties. The future land use of this subject property is light industrial. Located to the south of it is commercial. Located to the southwest is a mixed use employment, and located to the north again is light industrial as well as high density residential. The proposed summary of this application: the applicant is looking to have 10 to 22 trucks on the subject property for their small business of freight. There is an existing residential structure located on the property that will be converted into an office. There is a required 75-foot transitional buffer located to the north of the subject property, abutting Wilson Academy, as well as indicated there will be a 50-foot undisturbed buffer that will be replanted to mitigate any intended negative effect on the subject property. The applicant is also indicated that they will install an 8-foot tall fence along the residential property too. The Planning Commission provided a no recommendation for this application. They could not come to a unanimous decision on a recommended approval or denial of this application. So therefore, there is a no recommendation for this application.
And what's staff's position?
Staff did recommend approval of this application.
Okay. All right, let's keep it moving.
And the applicant is here because I see him with my 2 eyes.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I was here last year, and we're trying to rezone the property again to establish our business. So our plan is to follow all recommendations as far as getting a clean landscape, enough buffer space with the Wilson Academy to not disturb the students. Thank you. Thank you. Next, please. So this is basically the type of equipment that we have in our company. We're a small business, family-owned business. We've been working for about 12 years. We all live in the Rockdale County, and we've been living for the same amount of time as well. So this property will be illuminated, fenced. We're pushing back the entrance so our trucks doesn't interfere with traffic when coming in and out. We do estimate that the traffic volume will be about 1 truck a day, probably none in some cases. There will be security cameras on site, and we plan to have a clean landscape with gardens and trees. We will not have a dirty place with junk equipment or anything like that. We're not renting these spaces to any other company. It's exclusively for our company usage. Now, as you may know, the area is, the future land use is light industrial, and we are surrounded by similar business as ours. We got volume transportation, we got the quarries with the dump trucks coming in and out, diesel shops. We got Kenco, which is a 60-door warehouse, and Yellowwood in front of us as well. So here is the area. I know you're familiar with it. What I wanted to say to you is that some people, or maybe some of us, don't want this type of business since we're overloading the area with trucks, and I totally understand that. We will try to mitigate and to do the best we can to avoid making any more traffic. Our trucks are especially over-the-road trucks. Our drivers come weekly on the weekends, and some of them stay weeks at a time on the road. So yes, I understand probably it's more attractive to have a different business in that area. The landscape could look better. What we're asking here is equal of opportunities as other similar businesses operating in the same area as ours. And well, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions,
Sure.
Commissioner?
Would you be willing to work with planning with a landscaping plan so that we can kind of look at the aesthetics of the building?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I know at the planning meeting, there was concern about the number of trucks that you would have in there, and I think you said you have about 30 trucks.
Our fleet size is 20, and we're planning to have a place with no capacity of more than 30 trucks at any given time.
Right, your fleet size right now, but you said at the planning meeting that you weren't intending to grow very.
That is true.
So if we limit the number of trucks to 20, would that be acceptable or something?
That would
you
be
could work?
acceptable, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, is your concern in opposition to this or something? Yes. Okay, hang tight. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure you're in order. Okay. You can yield for a second, and we'll follow the direction of Director Wheeler in terms of who's in opposition.
Thank you.
We had no one sign up, but obviously there's a gentleman who wants to speak.
Okay,
So
you want to get your opponent back?
Thank you.
Come on up, sir. Take your time.
My name is Gary Thompson. I live in Lake Capri, off of Lake Capri. And a number of these trucks up front that come up there, and there's a big warehouse as you get off of I-20 and turn the hill, and you make a right. There's a big warehouse right there. And if y'all don't know if you've been in that area, but there's like gravel, there's nothing done with the roads. I mean, the roads, but you go up there, you come all the roads. Then there's another warehouse not too far from that. I'm sorry. There's another warehouse not too far from that point. This is a huge warehouse, huge mega warehouse. Same situation. Roads are shot. Now we had, and the fact of him complying with the commissioner's statement is appeal, a curve appeal, because in that subdivision you have homes, nice homes in that area down Lake Capri Road, worth a lot of money. But if anybody's coming to your house looking at either way, the roads are messed up, the facade is gone. That's going to depreciate the value of your home. And the other thing is, what are they doing about Rockdale County on Old Covington Highway? Because those big trucks, all those trucks coming down there now, it's going to tear the highway infrastructure up. Are they paying more money in taxes to help the county get out? Because, I mean, they're making money. That's fine. I have no problem against that. But the fact of it is, what are we doing to preserve the community and the infrastructure itself? And if they're just going to put it, and I think this thing should be, this curb appeal should be followed to the letter. Because there's a trucking company right behind as you get off Turner Hill, there's a big warehouse. There's a truck company been there for like, I've been there for like 19 years. It looks like, sir, I don't.
Yeah, you can, that's all right, just talk to me.
But it looks like a junkyard.
Okay.
I mean, and then plus the traffic situation, but if they gotta follow, I'm sorry, they need to follow it to the letter.
Yes, sir.
And also come in, do something with the roads in Old Covington.
Well, thank you. So, well, give me your name again, sir.
Gary Thompson.
Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming out tonight. You pointed out some good points about that road. The thing that I want to make sure everybody is clear, there's a large portion of that road that's in the other county.
That's true, that's true.
And-
That part right there,
then
that's in DeKalb County.
There's a portion that's in
That's right.
our
You're
county.
right, you're right,
Yes, sir.
you're right.
But I thank you for coming out tonight.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else you have? Let's keep it rolling.
Yes, sir. The last item on the agenda is RZ case SUP 2024-03. Applicant is Mr. Eugene West. Subject property is 3260 Southwest East Fairview Road. Applicant has a special use permit for under consideration for the operation of a RV recreational park and campground. The subject property again, it's 40 acres. It has frontage along Southeast Fairview Road. The current property has an existing single-family home on it, and everything else is undeveloped. This is the zoning map of the subject property. The zoning for the subject property is AR, agricultural and residential. Most of the surrounding property is agricultural and residential, and there is R1 zoning located to the north of the property. The future land use is low-density agricultural and residential, and this is the proposed site plan of the proposed campground. The applicant has intended to have a park-like campground with 20 to 30 feet natural buffer between each campsite. The applicant has also indicated that each acre will be 5 per site. So we're looking at 200 campsites out of the 40 acres. The RVs will be 14 to 16 feet wide. The applicant has also indicated that all access material onto the site will be permeable. Also, the amenities of the campsite will include a camp store, swimming pool, a playground, dog park, walking trail, a game room, and a sports field. With all our applications, the Planning Commission provided its recommendation, which was a denial. Staff did recommend approval. However, the Planning Commission did recommend denial of this application. And the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Washington, do you have any questions of the applicant, or you want?
Yeah, he's right here, Mr. West.
Come on up, sir. Come on up.
He presented the other week, so I have several questions. And did you want to present, or you just want to go on the
I mean, I do have a full presentation if you would like that, or I'm not sure what.
Well, you know, this is 99.9% of the people are here about this tonight, so I think it would be only fair and equal that you take the time and present.
Sure.
And then you can entertain the questions that we may have, okay?
Have you guys seen the presentation?
Go ahead and make your presentation.
Because I do have a copy.
Yes, sir. That's fine. Thank you.
And this is the same presentation that I went over at the last meeting.
Right.
I think I've been very clear on the vision of what I intend to provide, the high quality experience for families, 24-hour security, on-site management. I would be living there with my family. A few of the points that were raised at the last meeting that I can clarify. There was a question about the number of trees. That would be an additional 600 trees planted on the property from what is existing there currently. So that would be existing. There were questions raised about the traffic, whether there will be a traffic volume increase. RDOT has already done their analysis of the property. They're looking at between 5 to 6 additional vehicles per hour. So not a very negligible amount of vehicles on that road. There was also discussion on the entrance location. RDOT came out and did their site survey. They recommended even though on their traffic tables, it's a sight distance from the curve that's on the west end, it only needs to be about 400 to 450 feet. You know, I'm going to be there with my own camper, and I like safety, so we proposed adding that to over 1,000 feet. So we moved the driveway position all the way as far as it could be away from that curve, provides well in excess of double the sight distance that's required by RDOT. In addition, the pulling in entrance would be like a 30 by 80 concrete apron transition from the road to come into the campsite. So there won't be any difficulties with ingress and egress. There's well in excess of 2,000 feet of sight distance that my engineer has already provided to Director Wheeler on to the other direction. So more than 2,000 and more than 1,000 the other direction. So plenty of sight distance. As far as the design layout, you know, my standard is basically to exceed any National Park Service recommendations when it comes to designing national parks, exceed any of those recommendations by at least 30%, with more space, more vegetation to provide a much nicer family atmosphere for the facility. Overall, just focusing on a fully screened, fully private experience. Director Wheeler mentioned the 50-foot buffer that would be fully landscaped. There are pictures there showing like a simulation what it would look like from Fairview Road, and none of the park buildings or campsites would be visible from any sides of the property. Those would be fully landscaped, fully concealed, and basically just, you know, having that operational control. It's not a facility where anyone would be living permanently. It's not a facility where anyone can stay indefinitely. It's not a facility, as was discussed or brought up at the last meeting, that it can morph or become some other type of facility. You know, I would have to follow the rules that are in the special use, and that special use, there is a process for revoking that. Director Wheeler has also discussed with me having a 12-month review for the special use permit, and I wholeheartedly agree with that in 12 months we could come back and look at it and say, you know, are you abiding by the rules of the special use? I fully welcome that because that's my intent. I've been fully open and honest about what I intend to provide here, primarily focused on veterans, their families, a nice, quiet, peaceful, relaxing atmosphere, and especially a place where I can be with my family and my children and have a home business. And that's my vision, that's my intent, and I welcome, you know, any questions or discussions on the merits of the plan there.
Commissioner Washington, any questions for the gentleman?
So I appreciate the vision, and I think it's a great vision. My concern, though, is the longevity of the amount of time that people can stay, and then the people that are staying there not having a permanent resident.
Sure.
And I think that while your intentions are amazing and it looks really good, I'm concerned about the next person, and just, you know, heaven forbid something happens to you the day after you get this, then the next person might not have your crystal clear vision, and we're stuck with a 200 unit
Sure.
RV park that the person that inherits this isn't as crystal clear as you, and then it does morph into something where we have a lot of residents that are a lot of people without permanent addresses. So my primary concern at this point is safety of the children that are going to the schools. It's very close to that, and the residents, because we won't know who's
Sure.
there and things like that. So
I
those
can
are
speak to that.
And yeah, please.
So this is the good thing about having a RV park or campground, is that I, as the owner, would retain 100% operational control over any reservations, any bookings. This is not a residential project, so that that falls under non-compliant towing. So you can make a phone call, anyone can be towed for any violation immediately. As far as it, transferring down the road, those rules would be built into the special use permit. So, no one can just come in and change what the type of business is or how it's being run. Obviously, as far as safety, that's number one concern for me as well. And to address the issue with permanent residency, no one can collect mail. No one, can get their vehicle registered there, get their insurance, their voting. Everyone still has to have a residential address. This would be for grandparents that want to come visit their grandchildren for the summer, for people that want to, come in for events.
Excuse me. The man is speaking. Please keep it down. Thank you.
People that want to come in for events that are going on. And like I said, with operational control, if I want to take a vacation, I just don't allow any more reservations for the time period. So this is not something that someone can just come in, book indefinitely, and that by them making a reservation, they somehow guarantee the right to stay there. Absolutely not. I would definitely encourage, I've visited all of the other RV parks around here. I've talked to the other owners in all the counties, all the way up to Marietta, Austell. And, when you go through those parks, they are run very well. They do not have a lot of these problems because they have the ability to tow someone immediately. They have the control over who comes and goes. Unfortunately, they are extremely crowded. They're putting 15 to 19 campers per acre, and that is the industry norm. I don't want that. I want only a maximum of 5. I want lots of green space, lots of vegetation. I want it to feel more like a state forest, because people being crammed in there, that's not relaxing. So when you look at operationally, that addresses those concerns. And then when you look at the caliber of the design and construction that I'm looking to do, that would definitely set me far apart from any other campground that's around there.
Thank you.
So I have just one simple question for you, sir. Have you had an opportunity to speak to the residents in the area? There's a lot of people out here tonight in opposition of this. Have you taken the time to communicate with the public?
I have several. I think a lot of people have a conception in their mind of, like you said, what it could become or what they think it is. In my opinion, I've tried to articulate everything extremely precisely. I would be welcoming, any other design criteria that would prevent or address any of those concerns. I would say that there's a lot of speculation and there's a lot of assumptions, but they may not necessarily be factually correct based on my design, based on what I'm putting forward. I know the traffic was a big concern, but like I said, I do understand people's concern with traffic. However, when RDOT does their study and their mathematical analysis, 5 extra vehicles per hour is not even noticeable. Those sorts of things.
You've answered my question, but as the commissioner has already pointed out, there are a ton of other concerns. Traffic is one of the concerns. I share the same concern about safety. I think that as we've announced earlier tonight, prior to you getting it here, we're not making a decision tonight, okay? We, the board, have heard from multiple of our residents. They've emailed, they've called, they've texted. They're out here tonight, which is the reason I asked you, had you taken the opportunity to talk with them and try to explain and educate your vision. I agree with Commissioner Washington that I think it's a good vision, but the question is it really a good fit? And is it really a good investment for you, particularly with the number of people who are in opposition of it? Safety is my number one concern. And because we're not making a decision tonight, the clock still ticks. You have an opportunity. If you haven't talked to more people, I would encourage you to do that. In the meantime, this board will be processing our decisions about what we're going to do, and we will be rendering that decision at the appropriate date. But that's all I have for you. Yes. Thank you so much.
I would add that, you know, as the owner and operator, as with industry standard practice, people can have background checks. They would, you know, have their driver's license and their safety inspection of their trailer before being allowed on the property. And I would encourage anyone to visit any of the other campgrounds and see they are run in a very safe manner.
So with that, and you said that at the planning commission meeting, I did talk to some other RV stations and ask them what kind of safety checks and what kind of criminal backgrounds they run. None of them told me that they run a criminal background check. They do check for the condition of your home, of your RV, and to make sure that everything is up to standard and make sure that what you're bringing to them is something that they want to have in their facility. But not one of them conducted a criminal background check, and I called 5.
And I would say that's a failure on their part. Although, I would say in light of that, if you drive through their parks, you spend time around there, you will see that they are very well run, they are very well operated. There are many different services that I, as the owner, can sign up for to do background checks on anybody that's coming in, and if that's something that you feel is necessary, then that's something I would be happy to do.
We're getting ready to wrap up. I want to make sure you hear something I'm going to say to you. The number one thing I said to you is the clock is still ticking. We will not make a decision tonight. If I were you, I'd be talking to many of these people trying to explain to them. However, in the meantime, we're going to process our decision. Safety is a number one concern for Rockdale County. You also heard me mention about whether this is a good investment and a right fit. So all of those factors are factored in. You probably could debate a little bit everything that we say. We basically have run out of time tonight. We've heard from you, and you've got some thinking to do. And the citizens of Rockdale County are here in crystal clear number. If I were you, and you really wanted something, because we're not in the business of dream busters, but we are a reality about what's a good fit for the county, okay? So I encourage you to do a little bit more communication. They're holding up signs, they've sent emails, they've sent text messages, call, the whole 9 yards. So communication is the key. And that key may unlock the door of whether this is something you want to do, or you hear what these citizens are saying and say, you know what, next item please, and move on to somewhere else. The clock is going to tick. When will we be making an official decision, Madam?
September 10th.
So September 10th is the magic date. We'll be making a decision as a board. The clock is ticking from now to then. If you see it fit to communicate more and campaign or champion your message a little bit more to the community, that's what I would encourage you to do. But 99.9% of the people here and next door and out in front of this place are in opposition of this. We hadn't made a decision tonight. I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Before I call the first person to speak, sir, I forgot to mention the reason for the denial by the Plan Commission. I want to put that in the record.
Go ahead.
That was the incompatibility with the surrounding area, traffic, which you've already talked about, environmental septic concerns, and public safety, which has already been mentioned.
How many speakers do you have? I want to. Okay, let me have those, please. Thank you. 'Cause let me go ahead and let me say this. I'm gonna call the speakers up myself in just a moment, but let me be clear on something. You all have already heard what I've just said. We see you. We received every one of your emails, your calls, and your text messages. I ain't gonna be here till 11 o'clock tonight. Okay, I'm just making it clear. You've heard from the board. You've heard me talk to the gentleman. We're about fair and equal play, and I'm gonna call these names, and we're gonna get on with making sure that we hear from you. There's no need of everybody saying the same thing. We done heard it, okay? But here it is. I'm about to call the speakers up. Let's get to the point. We'll rock and roll with this clock tonight. Stacy Parker, come on up.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Parker.
Mr. Commissioner, thank you for allowing me to say my piece here. I am in opposition against this RV park, and I've sent you guys some emails, And like you said earlier, there's a whole lot of stuff you already know, so I'm just going to hit on some high points that I think that should be brought up. The first thing I want to bring up is Mr. Eugene West, who's applicant here, said that he would vet all applications to the RV park, which is great, and I'm sure he would do it the right way, and I'm not questioning your character at all. But who's to say that 6 months, 1 year down the road, he should be a little bit more lenient on who comes in the park? What about if a year or two down the road, maybe he's not so interested in having the park anymore and he wants to sell it, or he passes it on to somebody else, or he's gone for a while and lets somebody else run it? Who's going to vet those people? And will they be at the stringiest, will the vetting process be as stringent as it was prior, when he was doing it? What if, God forbid, something happens?
Hey, Mr. Parker, if you were talking to Mike.
He's in a car accident. What if something happens, he's in a car accident? God forbid. And then somebody else takes it over. Then God knows what happens then. Somebody else takes it over, they run it the way they want to. It sounds to me like it's pretty much a private community that he can kind of do what he wants to do and let whoever come in. I don't know the rules surrounding it, so to speak, but that's just what it sounds like to me. That was my first point.
That was just your first one?
That's my first one.
You said I had about 4 in there, but go ahead, Mr. Parker. I'm counting and monitoring.
My second point is, who in their right mind would put an RV park within a mile of a school, of 2 schools? Who in their right mind would do something like that?
Number 2. Go to number 3, Mr. Parker. I got it.
Number 2.
Who in their right mind? You're going to say that about 5
It's
times.
It's naive to think that a sex offender will not get in that park somewhere or another. He doesn't have to be the applicant. He could be a friend of somebody. He could be in a group of people that show up at the park. Okay, third thing. South Rockdale is my home. I was born and raised there. I've been there 54 years. I grew up there. My kids have grown up here. I lived with my parents. I'm built next door to them. My kids grew up, so I know the community. The people are loyal. We love each other. We work for each other. We know each other. There's a loyalty and there's a atmosphere in our community that makes it better to live there, because people care about each other. We do stuff for each other. It's because we have a history in South Rockdale County. If you bring in people who are just temporary, quote unquote, residents, they have no loyalty to the area. They come and go. They dump and go. They don't care what they're doing or what they're leaving behind. I'm just coming to, hey, spend a couple days here or 30 days, like Mr. West says, and then I'm leaving. I don't care what I leave the town. I don't care what I do to the property.
What's your next one?
Okay, thank you. RV park, it decreases property value. That's a fact. Okay, we don't want to decrease our property value in the area. I know a lot of people that I have spoken to in the community, and there's not one person of all the people I've known and spoken to who are in favor of this RV park. Like you mentioned before, 99.9% of the people around here. Mr. West has not spoken to me. I've not heard of him speaking to anybody else. I don't know, or I haven't heard you propose anything to any of the people that I know in the community, or myself or anybody else.
What's your next one, Mr. Parker? Communication was you just talked about. Next one.
That'll be the last one. I
Okay,
think.
you're coming up on your number 2, by the way.
My last point was a septic tank. 200 RV spaces. He hasn't done a perk test or nothing, so that's a septic tank nightmare. You couldn't do that in that area anyway. That'd be my last point. Thank you for your
thank you for
consideration.
coming out tonight.
Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you so much. Amos Durr. Mr. Durr, come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I've seen y'all before, so
Yes, sir.
y'all know.
Good
I'm not going to
evening.
give you my background and history because y'all know it. Because
We
I've
know
seen
exactly who you are.
enough to.
Yes, sir. Like
but
that
I am
shirt,
going to
too.
say this. I live at 3204 Southridge, less than a mile from this location. I've lived here since 1996. And let me say this, the Planning Commission denied it, and they denied it for a reason. And it was unanimous. I don't think anyone voted for it. I think it was in denial. But I want to add something that they have not covered. Need. A community needs good schools, clean water, fresh air, good neighbors that you can count on. That's what a community needs. I have not been, no one has come up to me and say, Amos, guess what? We need an RV park. No one has said that to them. So we don't need it. It's not a need to have it. Now, entrepreneurial spirit is great. That's what made the United States. It's entrepreneurs with a vision. I have no problem with that. But that vision has to be part of what is best for the community, and how does that vision expand on the community. This vision, although I honor it, doesn't fit in the vision of the community that we live in.
Okay.
It doesn't fit.
Okay, gotcha.
And so for that very reason, amongst all the other reasons that you'll probably hear, I would say deny it.
Thank you, Mr. Amos.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out. Mr. George Kellercheck, come on up, Mr. Kellercheck.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioner, citizens of Rockdale County. Mr. West, we appreciate your service to the United States. My comments are based on Georgia State Parks and Historic Sites. There are 48 campgrounds under the jurisdiction of the Department of Natural Resources for the state of Georgia. Number two, there's 3,194 sites in this state, and they do provide accommodations for veterans, all right? We have plenty of parks in this great state of Georgia. Over 84,505 acres are accommodating these folks. I would just bring up a couple of other points. Nobody has brought up squatters. Septic is under the jurisdiction of Buddy Compton, who is your director for environmental services under the Environmental Health Department for Rockdale, Gwinnett, and Newton County. My other point would be this, and this comes directly from our Department of Transportation through splashed information. One RV or one trash truck is equal to 10 vehicles in weight. So when you look at this, that's 2,000 vehicles that would be going up and down this road, which is very tight. It would exacerbate the condition and worsen the condition of this roadway, which we do not need. So I will leave it at that. My other recommendations, if this were to ever get passed, is the Atlanta Regional Commission do a development regional impact study, because this would impact this region. And finally, what software package is he going to use to track all of this? How many employees is he going to have? So I'm in direct opposition of this development.
Thank you, Mr. Kellercheck. Come on up, Mr. Curtis Hamby. Curtis Hamby. Come on up, Mr. Hamby.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, we live at 3245 East Fairview Road, which is directly across the street, okay? Been there, next year will be 40 years. We've seen the traffic increase. We've seen the accidents in that curve. It's notorious for them. Had a fatality there a couple years ago. But, you know, we've talked about all this, and I won't keep beating a dead horse, but like the man said, it's not a need for our community out there. And I too see it becoming, instead of a recreational park, a residential park. You know, squatters, whatever you want to call them. But 30 days is a long time to camp, too. We are campers, and the state parks allow you 2 weeks, you know, and then you got to go somewhere else. So, strong opposition, you know, and like I said, I really just don't see the need for it or the fit.
Thank you, Mr. Hamby.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. David Holland. Mr. David Holland, come on up, sir.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wrote mine down, so I don't last very long. Thank you, Chairman Nesbitt, and Commissioner Washington. I'd like you to consider that this application should not be considered as a special use permit. Arguably, I believe this would be spot zoning. There is nothing around there that is commercial, and this is a commercial property. If you look at the very definition of what commercials, businesses do, they provide a service, they take in income. There's going to be a store. So that is one concern I have for a special use permit for this particular. There is nothing else around it that this would expand a vision of that area. Under Rockdale County zoning laws, they can, of course, y'all do have the authority to provide that with certain conditions and things, which we all understand. I just heard that RDOT has said that there could be as 5 to 6 vehicles per minute. Well, I live at, I apologize, I didn't give my address, 3219 South Ridge. It's about halfway between this proposed development and the 2 schools that are right there. Most of the people that go to the elementary school there deliver their children. They don't ride the bus. There are cars lined up both ways trying to get into the schools in the morning during the school system. Buses are going up and down that road. So now you're talking about an RV of any size every 10 minutes or maybe more often, in combination with school buses and children going and coming to school. So I guess that, along with what everybody else has said, I would just ask that the commission deny this request. It needs to be, arguably, I've got friends that are in this business. They cannot understand why you're 10 miles from an expressway or 8 miles with no fueling stations. But of course, that's a business plan that the developer has to figure out. But thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Thank you so much. I think this is Mr. Mendez. Mendoza. Mr. Mendoza, how you doing, Mr.
Pretty
Mendoza?
good about yourself.
Thank you for your patience.
No, no problem, not a problem. I mean, just coming into everybody's point, right? What is our strategic goal? What is our plan for that area? If their area is going to be built as such, we're opening the doors for other black businesses to be able to happen like that. 138 that hits Fairview Road is a direct artery into Rockdale County. RDOT is putting a real nice cul-de-sac in there, super nice. I understand that Rockdale County has future plans to beautify their EMA facility out there. I just want to make sure that we are doing proper strategic planning. We just don't want to come in and just go, hey, you know, let's just put this right here. It has to make sense, correct? I know that when we do this and we make this county the way it needs to be, we actually reimagine Rockdale the right way. And I'm bringing it straight from y'all. You know, I understand that we want to make it right around here. I myself have been living in Rockdale for 5 years. And I want to be living in Rockdale for a long time. But I want it to be right. I want those goals, those objectives, the county to look the way it needs to look, to bring in the proper businesses, to bring in the correct entities to make it right. That area does not have a lot of amenities, like I've said before. It was proposed the past meeting, the planning and zoning meeting, that property would bring $20,000 to $30,000 in revenue for the county. As I said it before, there's 2 gas stations there. There's a lot of Twinkies being sold. Just being right. That's all it is. But I trust that you have the proper guidance and the proper knowledge to be able to encumber this and be able to make the proper decisions when time comes. I believe in y'all and hope you're the best.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Thank you so much. Kay Chase. Kay Chase, you're it. Come on up, Miss Chase.
Hello. My name is Kay Chase. I live in Lynbrook Estates. I'm the HOA president for Lynbrook Estates. I'm here representing the 90 homes and all the emails and all the people and all the flyers. So I definitely want to be able to share some of our major concerns. Most of them have been echoed, but I think it's worth mentioning again. We are 100% in opposition. Mr. West has not contacted me. He has not contacted the local school. He has not contacted the Cub Scout troop. He has not contacted the Girl Scout. I think all of these entities will be great people to contact because we all may be able to use this particular RV park at some time. Commission, it is absolutely too late for him to contact us now. He has had ample time to get in contact with us. I contacted his agent. His agent has my phone number. I have not heard from Mr. West. He is not interested in speaking with us because his agent, who did afford me the opportunity to come onto the property, but he has not contacted me. We are concerned about the 2-minute ride from Lorraine Elementary School and Davis. I'm here to oppose on behalf of Lorraine Elementary, Davis Middle School. We are here to oppose on behalf of the East Fairview community and Lynbrook Estates. That can also be sexual predators. We are concerned about the people who do not have a resident, who we cannot track as sexual predators. This is like a hotel. This is occupying, this is taking on the feel of a hotel because of all of the amenities. It's great, but it's not for our residential area. And that is the purpose of that's the purpose of you all zoning that particular area for residential. We want you to be able to deny this. And if you cannot deny this, we want you to defer it. Defer or deny. We really need you to deny this because we feel that it's in your hands and that we do believe in you. You all have answered all of my concerns about the emails, about some of the other issues that I've had in our community. So I know that you can definitely deny this request. We think that we as a commissioner and the community can help this homeowner find a solution to sell because she's going to sell it. But we need to make sure that it's the right person. Maybe the economic development team can get in contact with her. Who can assist this owner in finding the right entity, the right business, the right development for this 40 acres? We don't want townhomes and we don't want a tower park. So we really need to be innovative and reimagine what Rockdale can be with 40 acres. We have that 911 call center. Thank you for not allowing that to be another vacant building in Rockdale County. Do we want the new invested 911 call center plus an RV park on the same streets? We do not want that. So we are asking again that you deny or defer. And I think that is it.
Ms. Chase, let me just take a moment and say thank you. You've had some wonderful speakers tonight, but you have been a sure enough strong speaker, and you represent that HOA. I'm just saying what I'm saying. The folks in that HOA are lucky to have you as a leader. I do, yes. And we on this board, we appreciate folks who do their homework, and I know that Mr. West have heard all of what you said. I put some strong emphasis myself on the importance of communication, which I believe is part of the reason why you reiterated that tonight. But keep up the good work. We've heard from you. We see your neighbors and your residents, and we see the signs. And yes, ma'am, you did a great job with the emails. We got them all. September 10th is the date. Mr. West, you've heard from everything. Commissioner, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes. Once again, thank you for your advocacy. One of the things that I would like to say is that you're right, this is 40 acres, and we have a seller that is anxious, wants to sell their property. But this is, like you said, the opportunity for the community to get together and kind of figure out what you want. Because, like you said, you don't want the townhomes. But this is, Mr. Kelichek, where's Mr. Kelichek? This is the golden opportunity to develop something that is more agricultural, something that conveys the spirit of the southern region. If it's denied, like I don't know what we're going to do on the 10th. But this is the opportunity for the community to come together, find a developer that can can give the community what it wants. We're not in the real estate business, but you all have Mr. Kelichek for 8 years. He's told us that he's a developer and a realtor, so he should be able to pool some resources and kind of develop something that you all would be proud of. And this is the golden opportunity to do something. And I would love, love, love to see something like that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Commissioner. Thank you, Ms. Chase. Deputy Director Wheeler is back in your hands, and in a few minutes it's going to be in my hands. Talk to us.
Is in your hands, sir. There's nothing left.
Executive Director Rutledge, ladies and gentlemen, hang tight. We're gonna let you out of here in just a minute. Is there any reason why we need any additional information? Is there any additional comments you need to make?
No, nothing else tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out tonight. This meeting is adjourned.